welcome to lesson 11. In this lesson we're going to look at how to solo using the G Major Pentatonic now. We're also going to find how to play it along the neck rather than across the neck. Let's take a look. Now I'm going to create a G major bar chord. I'm barring on the 3rd fret, and of course I'm putting my fingers in a familiar E major chord shape, and there we have it. Now, in this particular case, when you play the major pentatonic, we're going to put our little finger back here. You will notice when we play the pentatonic, we don't need to put our fingers behind the nut here. We're basically going to be playing open strings. So here's the pentatonic scale now. G, open E, D, open B, A, open G, and across the strings like that. Now I just want to quickly mention at this point that when you're playing G major and you have those open strings, you'll find it takes a little bit of getting used to, because the strings are open. You don't have to put your fingers here at all. So some of the typical leads that we looked at before, like that, require that you get used to those open strings when playing them. Now here's an example of a rather awkward lead pattern that we looked at before. It goes like this. You're going to put your 2 fingers on the 3rd string. They can be slightly apart, and when you bend, you're going to play the 2nd string after, then the 1st. Like that. Again. And of course, in the other examples, if I had to put my finger here, which of course I'm being silly, you don't really have to do that, but it would have looked like that when we were in other keys. But here, with the open strings, we just bend with the 2 fingers, and of course the 2nd and 1st strings are played open. Now let's look at the major pentatonic across the neck in a very high position on the neck of the guitar. Here I am with my little finger now on the 15th fret, and it's just past the double dot, and I have the scale here. And of course, although the frets are very tightly squashed together, you can see where the E major bar chord would be if I were to press it down at the 15th fret. So once again, using the bar finger as a reference point, we put the little finger at the back here on the 6th string, or the 1st finger going this way, I call this going backwards, on the 1st string, and here's the scale again. Now we're going to learn how to solo over a chord progression which is in the key of G major. The chords are G major, D major, that's a 1-5 in our progression of chords that would be built on a G major scale. So we have G major, D major, E minor, that's chord 6, C major, chord 4, and then back to G major again, around to D major, then to C major, then to G. Now, as I said, the chords go 1, 5, 6, 4, 1, 5, 4, 1, and that completes the progression. And you might recognize this progression. It was used quite successfully by the Beatles in the song Let It Be. Now, in a second, I'm going to demonstrate all the various leads we've looked at in the past in this course over this progression. Now just pay close attention to how the scale appears to change while the chords that I'm soloing over change underneath the scale pattern. Here we go. Now let's take a quick look at some demonstrations of me soloing in the G major pentatonic in this position with the open strings that we discussed earlier. Here we go. reached a point in the course where we're going to look at the first pentatonic scale played along the neck rather than across the neck. Once again, we're in the key of G major. Let's take a look now. Now, starting with my first finger on the 6th string at the 3rd fret, I'm going to play for you the G major pentatonic scale along the neck. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, why bother to learn the pentatonic scale along the neck when you can probably already solo to your satisfaction across the neck in that one position? Well, the answer is this. It's quite simple, really. If you play the pentatonic along the neck, you're accessing some of the higher notes of the scale rather than just going from one position to the other, from the 6th to the 1st string, like you would across the neck. So to play along, you're getting more notes out of the scale, which is a simple answer to the question, why play along the neck? The other thing is, too, is when you play across the neck, sometimes you'll be playing 2 different notes on 2 separate strings, whereas along the neck you may find those same notes exist on 1 string. Translating that into how you would play phrasing-wise, if you're playing along the neck and you've got 2 notes on the same string as opposed to 2 different strings, you'll get much varied sounding solos. So your phrases will sound slightly different if you play along the neck than if you play across the neck. Now let's take a detailed look at how this scale is constructed. Here's my first finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Now we play that note, and then with our 3rd finger we go to the 5th fret, which is a tone away from G, so this note will be A. Another way guitarists often describe a jump of a tone is to call it 1 step, and a semitone, being 1 fret away, would be called half a step. So let's say we've gone from G to A, which is 1 step. Then we go along the neck from A up to B, which is at the 7th fret, which will be another step. So really, to define this, we start on the root note, that's the identifying note of the scale, which is a G, and we go along 2 steps, 5th fret, 7th fret, and then at this point we go across now to the 5th fret, 5th string, and we go up along 1 more step, and then we go across to the 4th string, the 5th fret, and we will have completed 1 octave. Although we've only played 5 separate tones which make up the pentatonic scale, we've gone from this G to this G here. Once again, I'm going to slide along, so we go here, up 1 step, along, across 2 strings to G here. Now, starting from G on the 4th string at the 5th fret, we follow exactly the same formula for fingering. So we go along the neck 2 steps, and then at that point we go across to the next string over, which is the 3rd string, up another step, and then we go across again. Now, you have to pay attention here, because instead of going directly across like we did in the other pattern, on the 2nd string we have to move along 1 extra fret. So we go 7th fret, 9th fret, and then on the 2nd string we go 8th fret with our 1st finger, and that completes another octave of the G major pentatonic. Now, taking off along the neck from where we left off on the 2nd string, we go 1st finger, 2nd string, 8th fret, which is a G, and then again using exactly the same patterning, we go along 2 steps again, 10th fret, 1 step, 12th fret, 2 steps, then we go across, and then along again to the 12th fret, another whole step, and then finally we push beyond down to the 15th fret to the high G here, like that. And if you look from this position on here, we've reached the point where the pentatonic scale can be played across the neck. So we've played along the neck, right up to this high G here on the 15th fret, And we're in position, should we want to play the pentatonic across the neck.